Welcome back, everybody, to Then and Now, Mario Kart Wii Retrospective. As you can see, we're just jumping right into the next track, which would be the hardest track in the Star Cup, which is the third cup in Mario Kart 64, Bowser's Castle. Bowser's Castle, of course, has changed many times throughout the years, but it's always retained one definitely... I had to add that part. I'm just going to get off point for a second. I had to add that part with the thwomp in the cage. If you run into him, like, he actually laughs at you. It kind of like, it scares me in a way, because it's almost like he's like an insane thwomp or something, because he's like green, and like he's behind this prison cell, you know. That must have been like, I don't know, Bowser's idea of like a psych word for criminally insane thwomps. I don't know. It's just really scary and wacky at the same time. I don't know how that works out. But you bump into his cage, he's like, oh, I always thought that was a hoot, if you will. I'm such a nerd. Always one striking element. Lava. Lots of it. There's always been lava in Bowser's Castle, no matter what we're talking about. Mario Kart, anything. Oh, another thing that you could have done in Mario Kart 64 is if you hit a banana peel and you started sliding out, you can tap B really quick, and you can just kind of like not spin out from the banana. Anyway, I have a little bit of fact, or trivia I suppose you could say, now about Mario Kart 64. It says Mario Kart 64 is the sequel to Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Changes from the original include the move to 3D computer graphics and the inclusion of 4-player support. The move to 3-dimensional graphics allowed for track features not possible with the original game's Mode 7 graphics, such as changes in elevation, bridges, walls, and pits. However, the characters and items remained 2D pre-rendered sprites. Well, that's obvious. Anyway, you know, I really like Bowser's Castle just because of the fact that it's difficult, but it's fun for some reason. I mean, they really go all out when they design Bowser's Castles. You know, you got like the giant, you know, Bowser shooting fire like you see here in the Wii remake. N64 Bowser's Castle is the very last track in the all the retro cups. The Lightning Cup is the very last retro cup. Oi, I need to stop stumbling. The very last retro cup! The very last retro cup is the very last track. So that basically says Nintendo decided this is the very hardest track out of all the retro tracks. And here I'm about to bump into the cell, and yes, he does laugh, but not in the same way that he laughed in 64. It's a different laugh. It's like, I don't know. I really can't explain it. Anyway, the thwomps still follow you, and one interesting thing about 64 was depending on the difficulty setting, the number of thwomps down that hallway where the thwomps chase you, it actually differs on what speed setting it is. Also, the picture of Bowser that I just passed by changed from 64 to Wii. In 64, it was kind of like his Super Mario Bros. 3 picture, and now it's just kind of like an updated one. Kind of like, I think it was his later Mario Party series pictures. I don't really know. But obvious inclusions, of course, include the zip pad right there so you can do stunts, which, we're not in Super Mario 64. I mean, Super Mario 64, whatever. Mario Kart 64, I really don't think I have to even explain that. Oh, anyway, I had to cut out the second laps once again because I was so pressed for time. I don't know why, but I put the 2 shortest tracks in the last video and the 2 longest tracks in this video. Anyway, getting back to, ow! And there's that laugh again. Yes, they do laugh at you when they squash you, which is kind of eerie. They did that in 64 as well. Getting back to a little bit of information about Mario Kart 64, Koopa Troopa and Donkey Kong Jr., both of whom appeared in Super Mario Kart, did not return for Mario Kart 64, and were replaced by Donkey Kong and Wario. In pre-release screenshots, a Magic Koopa was playable, but before the game's final release, the Magic Koopa was replaced by Donkey Kong. And I found that interesting. I remember that picture. And in production, the original name was Super Mario Kart R, which is probably why I keep calling it that, because I do remember it being called that. And this is, oh boy, one of the shortcuts. I think, might be the only shortcut, but it only happens in the remake. You can't do it in the original. So, a little comparison. Here's the original, and the new one. Definitely more bloom, more color, more detail. The red lava kind of markings on the walls on the outside are there. There's a laugh comparison. So weird. Anyway, moving on to our very last track for Mario Kart 64, DK's Jungle Parkway. Now, right out of the get-go, obviously, you see on the left or the right, one-dimensional trees. They kept that in Mario Kart Wii, which I thought was really cool. And as you can tell, this track is quite large, so large, in fact, that it actually lags the game a little bit, which I thought was kind of interesting. But then again, kind of not cool, because you don't want the game to lag, you just want to play the game. Anyway, taking this jump, you jump over the water, of course. The color of the water changed from the old to the new. And also, the ferry that moves back and forth in the 64 version, it doesn't do that in Mario Kart Wii, it just moves once, and then it's gone. If you take the jump, you can actually hit that ferry, and it will make you crash and you fall into the water. It doesn't happen in the Wii version. But yeah, that was a bit of a butt for that to happen in 64. Also, when you drive in the grass in this version, I don't know who, probably like primal cousins of Donkey Kong actually end up throwing like spiked coconuts at you to get you off the grass. I don't know why. I just thought it was an interesting touch. But they didn't bring that back for the Wii version, and I was a little bit disappointed at that. I don't know. Members of Donkey Kong's really, really extended family throw spiked coconuts at you. Of course, there's like no official decision for what's throwing that at you. I just decided, you know, that's probably the best. Whatever. Anywho, the very last bit of trivia. Mario Kart 64 has an average review ratio of 85% on game rankings, including reviews from IGN and GamePro and magazines such as Electronic Gaming Monthly. Excuse me, Mario Kart 64 sold approximately 5.5 million copies in the United States and 2.24 million in Japan. Oh, that was a bit insanity. Like, in second place in Mario Kart 64, you can get a lightning bolt. How crazy is that? Oh boy. Anyway. Zipping my way right into first. I'm actually, like... Oh, right, the remake. I was about to say, what is the last 2 minutes of? Oh, silly me. Anywho, the one-dimensional trees are back. The water, like I said, it changes from blue in the original to, like, reflective off of the sky, which is, I don't know, yellowish-orange. So the water is now yellowish-orange. And it doesn't lag either. Goody. Look at those one-dimensional trees. I thought that was so cool. I really did. I'm such a nerd, okay, for Nintendo. I'm a total fanboy. I don't mind saying it. But I just thought that was really awesome. Oh, well. What else is new? Well, obviously, of course, the detailing. I don't even think I have to mention that, but I did anyway. Also, when you come off of that jump, in the original, you actually had to, like, stop, because if you kept driving, like, it would just shoot you right onto the grass. But in the Wii version, they fixed that, so you can just kind of start drifting right when you come out of that jump. If you actually had to brake in the 64 version to take that turn, kind of wacky. Oh well. And here I'm driving in the grass on purpose, just to show you that, well, you don't get hit by spiked coconuts when you drive in the grass. Very unexciting, very uninteresting. Oh well. Of course, there were no bloopers. Oh, and also in the 64 version, you can actually jump right up to this shortcut. But in the Wii version, they just decided, hey, let's put some really heavy, loose dirt and mud, so, you know, you need like a boost to really go through there. But in the 64 version, you can just cut right through there. And as you can probably not see, the ferry is gone down that little ravine, never to come back. And, unfortunately, never to get in your way and make you crash and fall into the water and say, too bad. Sunshine reference. I really hope you people have been watching my Sunshine reviews. I mean, playthroughs. Why did I say reviews? I don't know. I suppose you could call it a review because I really like that game. My review for the game, Super Mario Sunshine, is awesome. Anyway. Also, the backgrounds are one-dimensional. I mean, they are like flat as paper. That's how one-dimensional the backgrounds are. Oh boy, oh boy. Well, they had to take whatever shortcuts they could. Shortcuts. Oh boy. Mario Kart reference. What are you gonna do? Anyway, it's time for a little comparison. I think it actually took me longer to do the original. It took me about 3 minutes or so, and 2:57 in the new. So there was old and new. Old jump. New jump. See, the water does indeed change colors. Coconuts being tossed at your head. And no coconuts. And well, that's all for this part of the video series. Join me in part 4 where I'll be doing the GBA tracks. See you next time.